very big question that everybody is asking, that the American polls, extremely polarized rhetoric that we've seen, and two assassination attempts at former president and the candidate in this elections, former President Donald Trump. How do you see these developments and how do you see the intelligence failure, would you call it, and what's the way forward?
Well, Navika, first of all, thank you for letting me appear on this show. And I'm a proud champion of the very strong friendship between India and the United States. I think, as I said, as somebody who's had the opportunity to visit India many times, India was always a nation that was about to arrive. That was what my friends in India would say. That was what Indian Americans would say. India's time has arrived on the world stage. And with that comes added responsibility, and something I hope we can talk about. In terms of political violence, it does worry me. It worries me. We see violence across Europe. We've seen some levels of violence even in Prime Minister Modi's recent elections. We've seen part of this due, I believe, to two things. One, the ability of the internet to exacerbate extreme voices on either end of the political spectrum. And candidly, when political candidates, and in the United States sometimes, when even Mr. Trump sometimes takes things he read off the internet that have no basis in truth and then expound those. I think as a national leader in any nation, you have to condemn political violence, but you also bear a responsibility of trying to speak things that are true. And unfortunately, and I think, I followed closely the Indian elections, I followed closely the European Union elections, the most recent British and French elections. We have foreign nation states who are using technology to try to spread division, often through the internet, often through some of the social media channels. And I'm not saying that is the causation of the polarization of the election in America. We have very stark choices, but there is something, as chair of the Intelligence Committee, that I think we have to watch very carefully in terms of foreign intervention. Americans, by their First Amendment right, have a right to say anything you want, even if it's stupid, even if it's untrue. But I worry if those statements are exacerbated or misrepresented by foreign intelligence services.
I am the future that was born 100 years ago. I am the purpose that emerged with India's independence to be a force for business that makes doing good our business. Towards an independence where knowledge sets us free. To think big and achieve bigger. To take India to the world and the world to India. Creating pathways of self-reliance. To stand for progress, the planet and the people. Towards a future made perfect. And be a force creating abundance. Because independence is not a moment in history. It's a never-ending path to prosperity. Aditya Birla Group, a force for good.